Hey guys, Chrono, and I've been really enjoying, somewhat enjoying the monster event that's been going on where you're stuck with fiends or fairies. And I've played about 60 matches, and based on those results, my suggestion would be just go ahead and use one of the created decks if you're low on gems. We know how expensive it is to actually do this, but I went ahead and went with the Fluffal deck. And I'm showing you now all the different decks that I ended up facing. And I felt like the Fluffal deck, it really did put in enough work that it could extend through. After facing that deck for many years, that was my first thought. This is probably the way to go. As you can see, at the beginning, I did face quite a variety of different builds that people were playing, which was really nice. That was a really interesting duel because thankfully I got out the Kraken card and just kept sending stuff to the grave so nothing would trigger. So I was pretty happy about that. I thought that was pretty nice. Despia, I think I went 2-1 against this deck if I'm not mistaken. I didn't do too bad against it overall, but I also didn't see it very often, which I thought was interesting. Ran into the Dark Lord deck quite a bit, and I think I lost to it once. It was not something that was too difficult for me. I think I took it out most of the time. Same thing when I had the mirror match against Fluffals. I actually ended up handling that back and forth pretty well. And knowing the deck as well as I do, I had some pretty hype games that went back and forth. As you can see, there's so many different turns that I had facing so many of these decks, and that part was fun. I really enjoyed that part of this event. I thought, hey, this is nice. There's lots of back and forth going on between me and my opponents. It seems like we're having a really good time against each other. You know, this is pretty good. However, I knew going into this that there was a very good chance that I was going to start running into the Labyrinth deck, which is what you see there. It's a busted deck almost. I mean, I won against it quite a bit, but I also lost against it quite a bit. I mean, so I would say my record against that deck was maybe 50%, maybe a little bit lower. But I just kept running into this over and over and over again. And so it was really frustrating to just run into that deck as consistently as I was. And I thought, man, I really wish they would do this differently. Now, the Runic deck, I don't think I lost to that one time. I mean, I know it's a great archetype. I know it can put in a lot of work. But yeah, this one here was interesting. It was an anti-meta Power of the Guardians deck. There's just too much gas in these loner decks that they give out to even let that even be a possibility, in my opinion. I tried something like that when I tried taking a break from Fluffals, because 40 matches in, I'm like, okay, I need a little bit of a break. Didn't do very well, so I went back to the Fluffals and found I was having almost a similar success rate. So I'm going to show you one of the duels that I had, or actually several in this video, because I had some pretty hype ones that I thought you guys might enjoy. So notice I'm actually going against the Labyrinth deck here. And this is typically what it looked like when I would face this. It always started with a normal summon of one Labyrinth card, and then typically it would result in the big boss monsters coming out. Then you would have a trap set. Absolute blackjack. Zero being in the grave was good because then they could set a card. And so, yeah, pretty interesting. So the first thing I do is I start with Bear. Bear is so good because it gets you to set a toy vendor, which is really good. And then that leads to all other kinds of interaction because you want your stuff to go to the grave because they usually chain with some of the cards. So the first one I do, there's the Edge Imp, which is really good. That's going to give me an effect, which is really nice. Right away, there's a target here. Then there's another chain. There's a ton of chaining. If you guys have been playing against these Labyrinth decks, it's very difficult. And so right away I get popped, which I kind of was surprised by that pop. I thought, man, that's kind of a little preemptive, quick against Fluffals. You really want to find the proper interaction, I feel, for that to be interrupted, which the more experienced Labyrinth players did do to me as they're going. So I go ahead and activate Patchwork here, which is so good because it's going to give you a poly, and then it gives you one of those Edge Imp monsters, which is really great. The Labyrinth Field spell is very effective because it starts acting as a pop. And when I tried going anti-meta, where I was trying to like just to banish everything, that field spell still put in enough work. I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. So I go ahead and use the polymerization here. I go for 4 here. Tiger is so good. I mean, this is such a good card. Penguin's great because it's going to go ahead and give me a draw of 2. I have to put 1 back. Cat's great because it gives me the poly back, which is a good thing. And then again, notice the crazy amount of chaining, right? So you've got the Labyrinth card that comes out. There she is, one of the main boss monsters of the deck. I get my polymerization back from Cat. Get my pop with Tiger, which I'm very excited about. Go ahead and have to discard 1 from Penguin's effect, which is fine with me. I like that I got Scissors to the hand. And again, notice that my card gets put back. That's fine, actually, because it's not a hard once per turn with Tiger. I thought, yes, this is actually great. Now I get to pop some other things. So I was very excited about that. Notice an instant chain here. I do not target the one, or I should not have targeted, or I don't want to target one of those because it can't be destroyed by card effects. But in this situation, notice that worked out beautifully. So I thought, okay, they're down to 1 card. That's got to be good. Oh, this is even better. Now we're down to a face down, and we're down to that one. But if there's anything I know, it's that this Labyrinth deck can grind. So right away, there's the initial start with Blackjack, right? It's going to be able to set a trap, and I'm like, gosh darn, this is so difficult. Edge Imp going is really good. Because it's going to actually give me the Fright for Fusion, so I can just banish stuff to make stuff happen here. So that's really good. So right away I go for Bear, I go for that, and I go ahead and get out the Cranking this time. Now, my thinking here is I just want to keep attacking if I'm able to, which I am. So I'm able to get it at a good 5,600 worth of damage. I love that that card then puts itself into defense. And with it being a 3,000 booty, you know, that helps quite a bit in that situation. So I'm thinking, okay, end phase, this is good. Everything's the way I want it to be. This is the way to do it. Go ahead and get for Patchwork again, which is a really good draw. Get Scythe, which is great. Go ahead and use the effect here. And my thinking is I want to go ahead and make the Saber Wolf card. This card is fantastic, and then after that it's going to go ahead and it's going to bring back a card which gives me that boost. So now I'm able to attack and attack for game. So in that situation, Tiger came in clutch because I got to use it twice. That's a big deal. Being able to use that twice absolutely was the difference in that duel. And my opponent, I think, had some misreads. And I've noticed that because I've had that too several times, which you're going to see in another video that we'll have coming up here soon. But that's Yu-Gi-Oh! Where, you know, it's great Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you can have that back and forth and you have long turns. And I will say, this event has been the longest when it comes to going back and forth with my opponents, which I do like that. What I don't like is just how much the Labyrinth deck, I feel, was time after time after time. I cannot imagine how frustrating the mirror match has to be. And knowing that Labyrinth was the deck, because like I said, I heard it quite a bit from different people, I thought, yeah, that's not for me. I really don't want to spend my entire time playing Labyrinth. Even though I do love control decks, I want to go against the norm and I want to try something different. And so that's why I went ahead and did Fluffals, because typically they can find a way to extend even though it's ridiculous they make it happen. I don't know why it works that way, but it just does. Now, this Runic deck is a serious contender. If you are looking to go anti-meta because you're frustrated with Labyrinth, I could see the value of this because of how much things get banished. That is a definite problem for people. Right away, I try some interruption here because I'm thinking if I can, I would like to actually, stop this card if possible. Now, that was an accidental effect. I didn't mean to do that twice, so I got rid of a card that I just know I'm not going to use. Okay, I can't use the pop effect, so that's fine. He's going to go ahead and use the runic card. That's going to give him a draw 3, which is really good. Uses the Raigeki. Thankfully, I've got the Scythe, though, that gives it the protection, so I do have cards that are still on the field, which is a really good thing. Now, going into the next one here, I thought, okay, Toy Vendor, that's a good draw. And sometimes, is this deck kind of like a luck deck? It is, but you have enough luck like you would with like Light Sworns, where the way they built it, it works. Now, are there some hard draws? Yeah, there's some hard draws. The traps specifically can be really difficult sometimes. Or if you get the normal card that is basically Monster Reborn, when it comes to the Fright for Monsters, those are not the best cards sometimes. Do they come in? Yeah, they're situational, and have I used them? Yes, I have. But these are the cards I want to see. The cards that, you're seeing on the screen right now. So, Dog's so good because it gave me Penguin. Then I'm able to go for the Crankin card here. And again, Penguin's effect's going to go off. Edge Imp's effect's going to go off. So Edge Imp is going to allow me to get a specific card. There is the card that I ended up actually going for. So again, it was one of those that I do have a use for it here. So I go ahead and banish. Go ahead and make the card that I'm wanting to make here. And it's one of the few times I brought out this card. I did it thinking I don't want there to be some interruption to what I'm doing. That was my fear. So right away, he goes ahead and gets his runic cards going the way that he wants to here. My stuff is getting sent to the grave. That's fine with me because it's leading to other things that I want to get. I'm able to attack again because my thinking here, knowing this runic deck, they're trying to make me run out of cards. And thankfully, I was able to make that happen before that could actually occur because I was starting to get pretty low there. And that's the last thing you want to have happen in that situation is where you end up in a spot where you've got really low life points. You don't want to see that actually happen. Now, Weather Painters, man, I tell you what, that deck is really frustrating. And it's the trap. That's what makes that deck so hard to face. And again, as usual, when I do these festive events, I'm trying to give you a very accurate picture of just what I was doing. I really do try to win at least 60% or better of my matches. And with this Fluffal deck, I was able to do that. As you'll see with later situations here, I typically had somewhere around, to start, I think 65% or 70% win rate. Then I went to 60 and 60 again, I believe. So the deck does work. And against the Labyrinth deck, I figure, why not? I like a challenge. And so that's what I'm always going for when I have these kind of festivals. I want to think, okay, what can I play that's not typically the norm that everyone else is playing? Now, Sheep is key here. I cannot stress enough how important this card is. Because I ended up losing to Weather Painters quite a bit, and they knew what to do against me. Anytime where I could have made Sheep, they stopped it, and that was key. Because by stopping Sheep, it really did put me in quite a bit of a tough situation. Now, I was shocked here that the Called by the Grave was not on Sheep. 100%, that was a huge mistake on this player's part, because Sheep is the key to making everything work in the deck, if that makes sense. Because this trap card that the Weather Painters typically bring out, if you can use Sheep, they can't activate it. And that's one thing I don't like about Weather Painters. I wish that had a clause of like once per turn or something, because it's so difficult to get past that card, I feel. at least with the decks that we're using in this event. Unless, and again, I don't have the gems, right? I just don't. And so because I don't have the gems, it's one of those things I thought, well, let me play something that I know can extend well, and this is what I went for. Now, man, this deck, it's just so good when it goes off. So many good things happen in here. So I normal summon Dog, I get Wing, and I like that because I can use it to send it to the grave. Then after that, I can normal summon Bear, target the poly, add it back to the hand. Now Wing's effect goes off because I got a Fluffal in the graveyard. So it gives me a draw, and then I can send that Toy Vendor, it gives me a draw, and then I can send it again, and it gives me an Edge Imp monster. So right away, I'm betting big here. So I go ahead and I go for Tiger, which is, again, such a great card. Use the effect here. Try and pop the different cards that are on the field. Instantly, there's chaining back, which makes a lot of sense to me. Because, again, I've played Weather Painters before, but I'm just trying to get a feel for what works and what doesn't. So it forces a bunch of effects to actually go off, which I'm fine with. I actually think that's a good thing, because if you leave those cards out on the field, oh man, they just start going, especially if they can interrupt like spells and traps that you're trying to use. Oh man, is that rough. But go ahead and use Sheep right away, which is really good. Now notice I've got this individual down to 300. I'm thinking, okay, I haven't taken any damage yet, but I know how these decks work, and they're really, really effective at what they're actually able to do. So right away I chain the trap. It's not a great trap. It has uses, but it's not what I would call super awesome. Okay, so notice goes ahead, and now this is really smart, where you go ahead and use these monsters to make the link 3, which is very effective. And then after that, you're able just to basically put them back. I mean, it just makes sense to me. Notice though, they didn't go for that, and they ran into Sheep. Okay, now I love this because Sheep is able to bring itself back and then has the 2800, which is really good. But then they get to banish it, which was also a really great play, and I thought, they've built the field, I'm in trouble. I mean, that was my first thought here, even though, and this happened to me in this event so much, everybody, where I thought I had the game, and the amount of times where they were able to bring it back, being at like 300 or 400 life points, because I just couldn't get that final blow in. I thought, darn. So the solid judgment here, really effective. I mean, you've got low life points anyways, why not? And I thought for me, hey, they've left everything in attack position here. This works. I think I can make that work. So I go ahead and use Fluffal's effect here. Okay, that gives me a draw of 1. Then I send the Toy Vendor, gives me another draw. Then that gives me a Fluffal card. Use Patchwork here, get the Poly, add the Edge Imp, Scythe. And again, love Scythe. It's so good for interruption, which you really do need when you're doing these different duels. Go ahead and fuse here. Love that I got Penguin that I could fuse for. Again, I'm thinking I just need a way to get over this. Okay, go to battle phase. Okay, so right away, real smart. And that's why I went ahead and went it this way. I thought I need a way to respond to this. Yep, so everything's gonna resolve. That gets rid of that card. And again, the trap, notice I can actually, because during the battle phase with Sheep, I can make sure that it doesn't go off. Sheep is the key against Weather Painters. Make sure you try it. So as you can see, I had some terrific duels, which I'm not done showing you guys. But again, I really wanted to show you how my second set of matches went. Okay, so again, that was just the first 20 that you got to see there. Again, this is another Runic deck that I went against. No problem. Again, Runics were not the problem. I had no problem facing those decks. I felt confident that I'd be able to extend enough and to, actually make it work. Now, I was surprised I did not see more Plunder Patrol. That card right there, that Fusion, man, that was the hero card of this. I could not find a way past that, which was really frustrating. I thought I had the right interruption, and it just didn't happen. Again, I lost to that card. That is the card. And this player stopped me from getting out sheep every time. Now, so notice I went against the Labyrinth deck, then I went against it again, and you're gonna see a pattern here, because I feel it's good for you guys to get a real feel for what's happening with these decks. Despia, this time I won against it. So I was 1-1, I think, looking at the results here. An anti-meta deck, it was fun, but against a deck like Fluffal's, good luck. I mean, that's just so hard to get past. Again, I was very confident in the mirror. Didn't really feel like I had too many issues with that. But notice, you're going to see a pattern here. Now, this was good. This Dark World deck, now I faced one earlier, and I was able to rock it. This one, though, man, once he started moving, I just did not have an out. That was a great match I had there, that loss. It was so back and forth. But again, there it is. A loss to the Labyrinth deck. And this one is interesting. Infernoid, I was really surprised how well this man controlled me. He was able to do so many different things once he got off that Grass is Greener card. Time Lords, why are we playing that? I really thought, of all decks, you're going to go with that one. I know they're a fairy archetype, but man, it just did not work. Also, the other starter deck I didn't feel was very good. I don't think I lost to that a single time. So again, some matches back and forth with the Fluffals. Overall, I won most of those. This one I was ticked off with. I literally thought to myself, it's a face down card. What if it's Unchained? I went with Tiger, popped everything, got all these effects for him. I was so frustrated. I was like, seriously, I really screwed this up, you know. So Dark World, as you can see, I was 2-1 against. This was fun, like an anti-meta type deck, which I thought was interesting. But again, Fluffals can, with Scythe, you have that interruption, which is so key. Then again, there's the Labyrinth deck. And so, yeah, you know, it wasn't awful. At least the first 40 matches, but I was tired of facing it. So I thought, let's face something different versus what we've been facing. It did not go well. So I went back to the Fluffals, and then this is what I ended up going against. Oh, Melodious. I felt so bad. I knew I had the guy when I had the interruption with this card right there. You pop that and everything changes for that deck, because I've played that deck, so I know it extremely, extremely well. Again, as you can see, I did not lose in the mirror very often. Again, Weather Painters, there it is, the trap, Thundering Canvas. If I could just get past that card, I win the duel. There are amount of times where I had my opponent down to like 500 life points or less with that deck. I thought, really? But that's how it goes. So as you can clearly see, the majority of my losses was to the Labyrinth deck. But you're also seeing that I was able to hang with the Labyrinth deck, right? I mean, you can really see that throughout this event, that, you know, if you have to, there is a way to combo through that. This was an interesting one. It was a Despia hybrid with the Dark Morningstar cards. I thought it was interesting. I've seen that before. Now, this was an option I thought about making, which was DDs. I thought that makes a lot of sense to me. So I did go and make it. That was the deck that I tried. I didn't have enough gems, though, to make it the way I wanted to. So here I waste all these gems, and it didn't even work well. So, I was so frustrated. Oh, man. So, yeah, so DDs, I don't think I won a single game. Yeah, so I think that one I was 0-2. Again, no problem there with that deck. But, yep, again, same old song. So if you do decide to play the event, because it's still going, be prepared that you're going to run into the Labyrinth deck a lot. And if you do have a way to handle that, great. Because I think you won't feel as frustrated because, like I said, when I first started the event, it was really fun because I wasn't running into all these other decks that was just Labyrinth. Musketeers is a pretty fun deck. I thought about playing something like that too. And then again, this was such a hype match. Oh, I had him down to like 800 and lost to that card. But I'm going to show you some other matches now that I thought were really hype too. All right, so let's get to some of those hype matches that I was talking about because there was a lot of hype. That's one thing I really liked is just how much back and forth, like I mentioned earlier, that I had when it came to different decks. And when I first saw my hand, I was like, oh, this is really interesting, this hand that I have. I wonder if I'm going to be able to make this work. And I thought, it's all going to depend on how lucky I am with what I do from here. Got some good things right away. So the Edge Imp going, that gave me the Frightful Fusion. I was able to activate a second toy vendor, which is always good. Did not get what I wanted there, having the trap go like that. Go ahead and fuse here. And I thought this is probably the right decision, what I'm going for, because I thought Sheep is always a safe play. And if you can, there's no reason not to try and go that way if you have to go first and you're looking to build some kind of board. So again, this is against the Labyrinth deck. The struggle against this deck is just so real. I did figure out my percentage because I was curious. I was literally one game under being 500, so I finished at 44% win rate against the Labyrinth deck with my Fluffal deck. And many of those games, guys, I just needed one more way to extend. That's how close I was to actually making that happen. Now, the Harpy's Feather Duster here, I thought, hey, that's a good time for that to actually happen. I like the pop on Sheep because it allows me to bring Sheep back. So that's always a good thing, I feel. And in this duel had to be in real time. I'll bet you this was like a 40-minute duel. Just this one game, I thought, my goodness, we keep going back and forth here. It was so many different turns. It was so much fun. And I thought to myself, hey, I've actually got a legit chance here to make something happen. Not what I wanted, but in a way it was a good thing because I do get siphoned to the graveyard. And again, I'm just trying to cycle through at this point, figuring I've got to get a way to get to my resources. I did like that I was able to at least take out his monster. Different things are getting put in. Now this surprised me just to make sure that he got absolute jack 0 in the grave. He goes ahead and attacks, and that damage is important. I really needed that to actually work in order for things to happen. So right away, we've got 2 chains that go off here. The first is the trap, which again is fine with me because I just get to bring my card back. So that's fine with me. So it comes back, Edge Imp goes off, I get the special summon of Penguin. He's going to go ahead and chain back. And this is a ridiculous chain that actually starts happening here. I think it goes up to like chain 8. Because there's just so much that Labyrinth being quick effects, they can just keep extending. And it honestly reminds me of back in the day when you would see Orcust. I remember thinking Orcust could just extend, find a way to build the kind of deck that they were wanting to build. And as you can see, Labyrinth is doing that. In fact, shout outs to Grunt. Labyrinth is getting some support he was telling me about, which is absolutely frightening to think about with how well this deck does. I mean, that wow. It's just scary to think about what you could end up having happen if you get that support. This is a nightmare deck to face. The only deck that I have a with at least 10 games a losing record against. The others would be Weather Painter and then DD. And I really think that DD has the potential to be very good in this event. Same thing with Weather Painter. I actually think that might be the stronger deck. I would have to create it and then go against Labyrinth to see which one's stronger. Now, I really like what I was able to do here. I was able to use Penguin, Scissors, and that gives me Tiger. And right away I go ahead and use the effect, popping all that back row, which was so important. Go ahead and attack in. And I thought to myself, man, if only I had a way to get above 1600. That would have been so clutch if I could have made that happen. But I was still feeling pretty good about where I was. But after facing this deck as many times as I have, I thought, oh, it's not over. There's no way that this is over here. This guy's going to definitely, without a doubt, probably have some sort of comeback that's coming here. And sure enough, that's exactly what starts happening. You get the special summon monsters out. You've got the different Labyrinth cards that start going off. Now, right away when I saw that normal summon, I'm like, ooh, yes. Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. Because I thought there should be a way for me to actually get past that. I thought, again, so interesting to make sure he's got cards in the grave, he does attack in there. I thought, man, what an interesting idea. Right away, I do use Penguin's effect to get a special summon off. Why waste my normal summon, right? The Labyrinth card comes out. That leads to that card going back. So one of his boss monsters is out there. And again, just the way things were chaining, I thought, oh, this is super interesting. So right away, I think this was so smart the way that this is going to resolve. So right away, he gets Storming Mirror Force out, and I thought, no, not the Storming Mirror Force. That was the first thing I thought, because several times I lost the duel because I didn't think about Storming Mirror Force. And this duel took so long, I forgot where he put it, which was really frustrating. I forgot that it was that middle trap card back there between the ones that are there, and I thought, shoot, because it was taking so long. Like, obviously this is sped up because this is the replay, but I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and fuse here. I'm gonna go ahead and get out Sabertooth, and then when I do, Penguin's effect's gonna go off, Sabertooth's effect's gonna go off. That's going to give me a special. Then you've got Dolphin's effect that's going to go off. That's going to allow me to get something to where it's going to be shuffled back into the deck, which is so good for recycling. Tiger comes back out, giving me that boost, which is really good. But knowing that the Storming Mirror Force is there is a problem. I didn't want that to be activated against me. And then that would have sealed the deal with the duel. There would have been nothing that I could do at that point. I got really like what I got there off of Wings, and then Toy Vendor going to the grave. Patchwork now, I thought, okay, I'm going to pop that card, and then he's going to be done, right? That was my thinking. As I said earlier, dueling is all about that back and forth, which includes mistakes. I get out well here, feeling great. I'm like, yes, here's the pop that I wanted, and I popped the wrong card. I was so frustrated. I thought, darn it. I do leave everything in attack position because notice the defense is actually pretty weak, and so I didn't want that to happen where I end up losing the duel for that reason. So again, the deck is starting to get pretty thin.
Yeah, at this point you can see that he's really starting to run out of resources, and so I thought, if I'm patient enough here, I should be able to make this work. But I do know that this deck can really recycle well to where it can just, keep just grinding and making a comeback. And I felt like that was what was happening based on previous matches that I've had. I mean, that's the tough part about facing this deck is you think you're in a good spot, as you can see from this duel, which I've been in several times. And now look at that, he's got a full board. So I was like, oh gosh. Now, I did like that I saw that he had a card here that was in attack position, and I thought, okay, that's definitely good for me. That was nice that he was able to waste that resource there. Probably wasn't anticipating the way that that was going to come out. Now, this is a really good chain here. He uses the Compulse, which is going to lead to a chain, and then that's going to put a card back here, which is always a wise decision if you can actually do something like that. So the card goes back. I'm actually okay with that, just because I can make sheep here. And so sheep is absolutely crucial. And I was thinking, man, if only there's a way to beef this up just a little bit more. And again, chaining going off like crazy here. I mean, that's the amazing thing about this deck. It just keeps going. So now, I do try and beef up my card. He wisely targets it though, and then puts it back, and I'm like, dang it. I was really hoping that I could keep that card out there, because I know that he's got some back row here. I don't want to attack into it and then lose on my advantage. I'm thinking that's not going to help me. So I thought this was huge that I got the threat for fusion, because then I'm able to make sheep again. This was crucial that I was able to get that card out there. I thought, man, it's the only way I'm going to have a shot here. So he tries to chain here, but I have Scythe in the grave, which is huge. Then he's able to use Absolute Zero again. And I go ahead and I attack there. And notice now he's down to 407 cards. He's about to draw, so now he's down to 6. And I'm thinking, man, I think I've got this. And I couldn't believe he did this. He ended up thinking he could take out the sheep, and I used the quick effect of whale, and I take the duel. I was so excited to make that happen. And again, that was the hardest deck to face. And just for pride's sake, I at least wanted one more match where I ran into that, because I was at 44% loss rate when it came to, or win rate against that Labyrinth deck. And so I faced it one more time, so my I was just under 50%, because I faced it one more time and actually beat it. And so I figure if it's a 50% win rate, go with the deck that you think you're going to enjoy, right? That's my thinking in that situation. Now, I did have a lot of matches against Fluffals. I calculated it. I had an 80% win rate when I was in the mirror. And those games could have honestly went either way, many of them, but they were so much fun, the hype back and forth. And that to me is what made the event really fun, is I kept going back and forth with these players, to where if I lost it, I honestly thought, well, it was a great duel. I mean, there are several times I was thinking that, where this was really fun. If I lose, I lose. You know, that's the way I was looking at it. But one thing I do want you to notice here is just how much Fluffals, you think you've got the game, but then you run into a situation where you're basically out of gas. And once you're out of gas, it's really hard once someone starts to swing the momentum back in their favor. So I really like the first turn that my opponent made here. I mean, look at that. He's got sheep on the field. He's got the Kraken in defense. He's also got the Link monster, which has actually got purpose here, which you're going to see in this duel. I did not use this Link monster very much. I think maybe once or twice the entire event. But there were uses. I did go through most of the extra deck with this. The Kraken card was my best play there. And the reason being, I wanted to make sure I got rid of his. That was very important. Now, this is quite a top deck. And so I go ahead and chain here, and I chained too early. I should have waited for, because I forgot that he had wings in the grave, and I realized that once I started looking. It's like, oh, I should have waited for the 2 draws that he's going to get here off of that. So that was definitely a misplay on my part, and I knew it as soon as I did. I was like, oh man, I really screwed that up. So he's doing his stuff here. Everything seems to be moving in the right direction. Yep, goes ahead and uses the effect here. And then that was a hype play there. That was pretty hype, using the Link monster in that way, because now he's got his Kraken out. He can send my card to the grave. He's going to be able to go ahead and link here. Now, I was surprised by this, because Fluffals want stuff to go to the grave. So I was real surprised that happened. That actually helped me, because when Toy Vendor goes, it allows me to get a card. Now, again, Sheep's effect, he's able to attack. No worry, because during the battle, you can't activate stuff until the battle's over, basically. So I get my draw, normal summon, go ahead and get Penguin here. Use the effect to banish the poly. I'm going to go ahead and fuse. And again, I love that I'm able to get out another one. So I get out the Kraken again. Use Penguin's effect. Edge and Chain's going to also go off here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Fright for Fusion, so banish stuff. Then I go ahead and I get to draw 2. I go ahead and actually send the poly, which I was not anticipating. Go ahead and fuse here. And I really thought it was the right fuse for what I wanted to do. So I go ahead and make Tiger. Now, the reason I went ahead and did this, because I knew I could get out the other Kraken that I already had in the grave. So go ahead and attack. He has to get rid of Scythe, so I thought that's good. And I could start to see things swinging my way. I thought, okay, I think I'm in good shape now. I think this is actually going to work. The effect of Kraken, which is so awesome. It goes back into defense after it's done attacking. Such a powerful card. What a top deck. I mean, really, what a top deck. It could not have been better. He gets wings. Then he's able to send the Edge Imp Chain. And then after that, he gets the Fright for Fusion. I thought, oh my gosh, everything he needed there. And I thought, yeah, we're in trouble. And he gets Penguin here, which is really smart. Uses another toy vendor. Gets rid of the Harpy's Feather Duster. Which I thought that was interesting, but, you know, it still works. So he goes ahead and he makes the Sabertooth card. And I thought, okay, that makes sense to me. Because he's going to be able to beef everything up like I just did. So I thought that's smart. Attacks in, I go ahead and take some damage. Notice I'm down to 3,000 now. I mean, it's a terrific duel. I honestly thought when he got that top deck like that, I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble here. So I go ahead and I send the card, which I thought was the right decision. Use the Fret for Reborn, basically. And when I attacked, I totally forgot that it was immune. And I thought, oh, shoot. So I thought, man, I definitely might have just blown the duel there by doing that. Notice he gets Dog here, gets the special summon. That's going to go ahead and give him Octopus. And I'm thinking, because now he's got another Wings in there, right? So he gets that draw, then he gets another draw from Toy Vendor. Then Toy Vendor is going to give him Bear. And I'm thinking that this is not good. So he's special summoning like crazy here. Everything's going right. He's got Scythe now in the hand for interruption. And I'm thinking, this isn't good. I need to find a way past this. This is not working very well. So I banish the Monster Reborn basically for Fright first. He goes ahead and chains here. Now I did that on purpose. I was baiting. I wanted to have a bait interaction here because I thought, hopefully this is going to cause him to use something, which it did. So he goes ahead and he uses Whale, and that's fine. Okay, so he goes ahead and beefs up one card. Then he's going to pop one of my other ones. And I have Scythe, thankfully. That was huge. So then I get rid of Whale. And I know that only lasts till the end phase. So my thinking is he's going to have to find a way to get past me. So normal summon here of Chain. Put some cards back in. Goes on and attacks. It's fine. I'm not worried about that. My fear is I got to get rid of that card. That's what I've been thinking the whole time. I got to get rid of the Fright for monster there, which I do. Then after that, I've got Dog, so I normal summon Dog. And this is where I thought, okay, I should be able to take this duel now based on what's happening. Used Bear to set a Toy Vendor from deck. Go ahead and send the Trap. Trap's effect's going to go off. I get the special summon a Dolphin. Use Dolphin's effect to go ahead and set a Toy Vendor. Use Wing now. And then I'm going to send the Toy Vendor. And notice I got Patchwork. Everything is going right. The Toy Vendor got me what I needed. Now I've got the Poly. Now I've got the Scythe. Everything I need to make this duel happen is here now. So I go ahead and I get all the resources that I need. Chain's effects can go off, giving me the Fright for Fusion. And I'm like, yeah, this should work. So I send all those. You know what's coming out. That's right. Tiger's coming out. I am popping everything there. That is the goal. Everything is now gone. Dolphins effects going on, so I get to shuffle a poly or fret for fusion back in, which I do. There's the pop. I know that's going to give him a card, so he gets patchwork, which is fine. Because I thought, okay, I should have game here. Everything's working. I go ahead and I get out whale. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. And that's right. I pull it all the way back, put the extra damage in so I can get those extra points. Yeah. It was hype, right? I mean, it was so hype. So, again, you know, Fluffals is a really fun deck. And if you don't have the gems, just go ahead and use one of these. I think it works. Let me know what you guys think, though. If you don't have the gems, did you try the loaners? Did you like them? Also, if you did like this video, please hit that like button. We always appreciate that. We'd also love to have you guys be subscribers of the channel. Hey, thanks again so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
But I wait for your next challenge. I know that you'll be back.